the blocks in the bottom are all about building the power you need, the capacity you need to take really good care of yourself and your loved ones and still have something left over to be a giver to others. The two middle blocks are love and adventure, doing things you love with people you love and places you love. Adventure is all about discovering your reason for being on this planet, your purpose. Why are you here? And then the top block is called significance. And that's about doing work you love with people you love and places you love and creating value for others, giving.
Hello, and welcome to the Stroke It podcast. I'm Alday Townsend, your host. This podcast is for individuals that are wanting to grow personally and professionally. The podcast is going to offer mindset shifts, personal experiences from myself and guest. We're also going to provide some great resources, tools, and direction for navigating life. The goal is to inspire you and encourage you to take ownership of your life and begin living it completely fully today. Let's get to stroking it. Hello and welcome to the Stroke It podcast. I'm Alday Townsend, your host. Today, I am here with Matt Gersper. We recently met. We were both speaking on a panel talking about marriages, life, happiness, taking ownership. And Matt is known as Mr. Happy Living. He's here today to speak with us about finding your true self. He's going to be sharing some failures, some successes. He's been married. He's been divorced. He's a father. He literally is a jack of all trades. I was reading his bio and it just kept going on and on and on. He's super interesting. I'm excited for him to be here today with us. Matt, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jenny. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So before we get going with all the goods and tips and tools that you have for our listeners, can you give us a sneak peek a little bit more about you so that we can connect?
Well, as you said, married twice, 4 kids by 2 different marriages, ages 18 to 38. So I've been at this dad thing a long, long time. As a youngster, I was into sports and played football and had actually played high school football, college football, and had 3 shots at the pros over the course of 2 years. And then that career came to an end, and then I got married and started getting into business. And then I really ended up being an employee for a long period of time. And then I bought a business. And so I learned how to be a real entrepreneur and a business guy and did that for a number of years. And my whole focus in the early business was helping other large corporations to become more profitable. We sold a company in international trade I was actually just reminiscing today because I was driving into North Carolina on the same road that I drove into exactly 10 years ago after we sold our company. And so we sold the business. We bought it in 2004. We sold it in 2014. And I started Happy Living. And the whole focus that I've been now spending for the last 10 years is on, can I shift from helping large corporations become more optimized and better and stronger and more profitable, and shift that to people? And can I help people? And if I had a secret sauce to what I offered as an employee, as an entrepreneur, it was distilling the best practices or the collective intelligence of a marketplace and putting it into software. And so at Happy Living, I thought, I wonder, can I do that, but not with software, but do it with business content? And so that's what we've done. We have a lot of blog posts and we have podcasts and books, and all of it is about best practices for living well, with the hope of helping others to achieve that goal.
That's amazing. So are you mainly working with business leaders, managers, and CEOs, or are you working with employees as well, or really everyone?
No, mainly it's right to the consumer. So I haven't really worked with companies yet. I'm just this summer actually making a decision whether I want to become offer my services to boards. And I'm actually I talked to somebody yesterday about it. I'm trying to make that decision this summer. But I really like the idea of just me to you, one-to-one. And when I started thinking about Happy Living, it was, I'm going to improve the health and well-being of the world and great big stuff. And I thought, wait a second, that's my old way of thinking. And then I added to my mission, improving the happy of the world, one person at a time. And I thought these 10 years ago, if in the second half of my life, I could just help one single person really improve their lives, that should be enough. And so I've really been trying to reframe my thought about what big and success is to small, we'll talk about Kaizen, small incremental touches over time that will yield great big results in the long run.
I love it. Right. So today, if you're still tuning in with us, which we hope you are, we're going to be talking about Kaizen living. Before we get there, though, I wanted you to kind of give us a little bit of this stage of happiness. I know that you have this meter on your website as well. So can you give the guests or the listeners a little bit of insight of how we're going to inspire them to take ownership and create a life that's worth living and that they really, really enjoy? Just like a snippet of that before we get into the rest of it.
Yeah, the happy quiz is what we call it. And I came up with that just a couple of summers ago. And it's based on a really great book called Power versus Force, written by a guy named David Hawkins. And it's a very heady book. It's hard to read, but it's very powerful. And to give a 30-second overview, David takes the entirety of human consciousness from the very lowest level to the very highest level of enlightenment. Maybe like Jesus was at the highest level of enlightenment, and probably very few other people maybe never even reached that high. And the very lowest level is like the most horrible, shameful, scared, pathetic existence that you can imagine, which none of us on this phone call could possibly imagine, but it does exist. And so from there, from the bottom to the top, David comes up with 17 levels of consciousness. And those levels are on our website. And I asked the user, the person, to choose the 3 that most closely sound like your life as it is today. My life is love or joy or shame or guilt. I don't remember all the 17. And we have pictures of what those words look like. And so you choose the 3, and then the 3 roll up into a number from 0 to 100. And that puts you on the chart of David's 17 levels of consciousness. And then we share with you what he says that means about your level. And I don't know if you took the quiz yet. Most people who take it find out, they say, yeah, that's pretty much how I feel. And then the goal is, 2 other things I'll add. He says every step up is logarithmic. So it's not linear. It's like magnified. Every time you go up one level, it's like big, huge changes. And he says at the mid level, I think 9, between 8 and 9, something like that. I think it might be 9 and 10. At the mid level, every level of consciousness below that line basically sees the world as a place of oppression. And so when you're just about to come into the world of love, maybe you look like you're living well, you're married, and you have kids, and everybody's dressed fine, you have a nice car, but on the way home, you get cut off, and you curse at the guy, and you kick the dog, and you're just in a rage over a silly, stupid thing. And you're still seeing the world through oppression. When you go above that line, you basically see the world as a place of love and joy and help. And logarithmically more and more and more until you reach enlightenment, which is, I can only imagine, it's like pure bliss.
That's amazing. Thanks for explaining that. So I'm going to definitely be taking that quiz. If you're still tuning in, you can go to happyliving.com and you can go on his homepage. It says Happy Quiz right there on the top of his website. I'm going to encourage everyone to take that quiz. So Matt, I love talking about the love languages. They've been really instrumental in my life. My husband bought me that book by Gary Chapman when we were separated and we were both trying to figure out what happiness looked like, what our love languages looked like, what our future was going to look like, whether we were going to be ending our marriage or mending our marriage. And it was really instrumental and helpful. So I love talking about it. And I know that you had mentioned that your love language is acts of service. So can you give our listeners an example of what that may look like? So if their spouse or someone they know's love languages was acts of service, what would that look like?
Well, I think I misunderstood your question when I was answering it. I think mine was expressing acts of service is where I get the most joy. Probably my love language in terms of how I like to be loved is probably touch. My wife and I, that we've since we've been married for about, I should remember it, 14 years now. Even the very first time I met her, we went to a restaurant and she put her feet up on my lap. And I thought, I mean, that just meant so much to me. Most people maybe wouldn't mean that much, but to me, it's that touch, it's that feel, just really makes me feel the love coming through. But then the flip side is what we're going to talk about here later, is I just love, especially with happy living, I love doing things that make an impact in somebody else's life. And it brings me as much joy, maybe more than it brings them. And so I was answering the question, I guess, in terms of giving love rather than receiving love.
And I love that too. Like my whole Stroke It concept is all about giving, giving to yourself and then giving to others. And, there's so much love that we can give and so much that people do need from people that are in their communities or in their houses and things like that as well, whether it's an act of service or just saying, hey, I love you, or you did a great job, or I'm really grateful. Thanks for unloading the dishwasher and things like that. So awesome. Okay, so let's get into the bulk of the conversation. We are going to be talking about yourself. We're going to be talking about friends and family. And then we're also going to be talking about a few other things as well. So let's get right into your basis of scaling and life, and let's talk about that.
So we have three topics that you just mentioned, and I didn't realize it when I was answering the questions, but basically I've answered it in a way that fits our happy pyramid, which is, it's 4 blocks in the bottom. It's a pyramid, 4 blocks, 2 blocks, and 1 block. The blocks on the bottom are all about building the power you need, the capacity you need to take really good care of yourself and your loved ones and still have something left over to be a giver to others. So I'll answer that in terms of, the first question, how do I do that? Then the second questions are all about giving to others. And the 2 middle blocks are love and adventure, doing things you love with people you love and places you love. Adventure is all about discovering your reason for being on this planet, your purpose. Why are you here? And then the top block is called significance. And that's about doing work you love with people you love and places you love and creating value for others, giving. So when I was looking at it today, getting ready for our talk, I thought, I kind of put the pyramid there. And so
let's go with it. I love it.
Topic 1 is, is about the economic benefits. I studied economics in college, of scaling a Kaizen life. And it's based on three things: increasing my personal capacity, which is physical fitness, mental fitness, financial fitness, and spiritual fitness. So the more I can do, the healthier I can be, the stronger I can be. That allows me to scale my life easier. I use an example in the blog post I wrote about mowing the lawn, raising the leaves, and sweeping the driveway. Well, if I'm really horribly out of shape and have no energy, that's an exhausting experience. Mm-hmm. The stronger I get, the healthier I get, the better my mind is, the better my spirit is. When I go out and I'm able to mow my grass and rake my leaves and sweep my driveway, I'm providing service to my family, and I'm out there having this great time, and I'm getting exercise. And so that's an idea of how you scale life as you become more powerful. The second part of it is flipping my have to, want to ratio. When we're young and we're dumb and we're just starting in life, we have to do so many things. As a matter of fact, when we're in our youth, people tell us what to do all the time. Go to bed, get up, go to school. We have to do what the adults tell us. At some point, we get a chance to start flipping that have to, want to ratio. And for me, that's all about understanding why you're here, what's your purpose. I want to be Mr. Happy Living, and I don't want to be mowing my lawn anymore. So I created the financial capacity in my life through my as a businessman that I could afford to hire the work to be done. And when I did that, I was able to spend more time on the things I wanted to do instead of on the things I have to do. And so that's another form of economies of scaling my life. I'm getting more done with less effort. And in fact, when I hired those professionals to do my lawn and my leaves and my driveway, they're doing it better than I ever did. My grass is greener because they're pros. So that specialization of life, it served two purposes. And that's another level of scaling that I'm getting even more than I was getting before, and I'm doing even less. And over time, if I keep working on that have to, want to ratio, if I want to be a classical world-class pianist, and as a kid, I spent time with the piano and I loved it, but then life took a hold of me and I haven't touched the piano in years. And I'm having this realization now as I'm focusing on those areas of love and adventure that, you know what? I love the piano. I haven't played in 30 years. I'm going to start again. And I'm going to start just an hour a week. That's not much. I'm going to do 99% what I have to do and 1% what I want to do. And I'm going to now consciously be working on flipping that have to, want to ratio until I can tell you my life right now feels like about 10% have to do, 90% want to do. And it feels really great. So I haven't, no, go ahead.
Yeah, when you're working with your clients and students as well, what's the time frame of that transition, of that mindset and that have to, want to? I mean,
here's the trick about it is as soon as you decide to do it, you feel instantly better because you're on a mission now.
Right.
You wake up in the morning and you say, even though I have to go to work and be a janitor and I got to do all this, I got to go through traffic and all that, it's okay because I'm working on, first of all, I'm providing for my family. You reframe things. I'm doing this because I'm responsible and that's good, but it's not my lifelong goal. And so now I'm going to be carving out time. And it's the same way when you start an exercise program or, once you make a decision, at least for me, there's a release. And it feels good. Then the question is, well, how long is it going to take to get from 99 have to, 1% want to 1 and 99, or maybe 0 and 100? Maybe that's that enlightenment that David Hawkins was talking about. 100% of my life is in joy and bliss and what I can bring to the world. That might be enlightenment. What if it takes a whole lifetime? Who cares? What if you only get to 40, 60? You're going to be better off than you would have been had you not been on this journey of consciously deciding to flip it.
Yeah, 100%. I use a 1-3-5. I don't know if you like where you want to be 1 year, where you want to be in 3 years, and where you want to be in 5 years. So like I'm equating this ratio to that of like how quickly can I get to just do everything that I want, not that I have to or need to. So awesome. We'll continue with your blocks. Yeah, for sure.
Let me just add something there because I used to do a lot of that same stuff and I don't do it anymore. Mm-hmm. I just get up and I'm doing what I want to be doing. Mm-hmm. So I found that's an interesting aspect of this also. It's a part of this. You have to go through the struggle to get where you want to be. But if you're going through the struggle in service of your purpose, it's not really it's a struggle still, but it's loaded up with goodness. It's like I used to play football and it's like a form of torture, human torture to get ready for a season. And in fact, I don't know if you've never played football, the first time you start to hit again, your body, you are just a wreck with pain. But after a couple of weeks, you can run full speed into somebody and it doesn't hurt. So you can't get to where you want to be in life without pain. But in those days when we were being tortured for football, you couldn't have torn me away from it. So that's the difference. It's when you're working for purpose, for a reason. And if it's only one hour a week that you get to play the piano, then it'll be 2 hours a week and you're on your way.
Right. Well, as you're saying this, I'm thinking about entrepreneurship. So I own a company. I actually own a music school. You probably didn't know that, but I own a music school in Sarasota, Florida. It's called Music Compound. Check it out. And when I think about the startup days, they were long, they were hard, and there were so many times year 2 and 3, I was like, oh, I just want to quit, throw my hands. And it was hard. It was brutal. It's one of the reasons why my marriage failed and a lot of other things as well. My health started to fail. But then I just kept going. And here I am 9 years later. And, I work 10 hours. Sometimes I work 20 hours. I work for however many hours I want to. But at the same time, the whole entire time I was doing it, I loved what I was doing. I was making such an impact and it fueled me. And I worked for free for 3+ years and I would still work for free. But unfortunately, I do need to make money and I have to pay bills and I want to put money away so that I can retire one day and things like that. But going back to if you're doing something that you love and you're being fueled and you're passionate and there's purpose and you're making an impact, that's worth more than the hourly rate or the salary you're being paid.
100%. And that takes me to the third level of this first topic, which is the difference between earthly energy and spiritual energy. And so if I look at my four fitnesses, physical fitness, mental fitness, financial fitness, those are all earthly energies. They're finite. I have so much power. I have so much mental capacity. Even doing this interview, that's going to drain my mental capacity. I love these things, but they are mentally draining. And so I have to rest and replenish. If I spend $100, I got to replenish that. It's earthly, it's finite. Whatever you use, you have to replenish. But spiritual energy, it's like love. It is love, in fact. And when you find your gig, when you find your reason for being on the planet, I interviewed a guy who's been for 50 years making guitars from scratch. He's built his entire life. He loves it. He goes to bed at night thinking, how can I make a guitar better? He wakes up in the morning, how can I make a guitar better? He entertains with music. His whole life is wrapped around music. And he's in his 70s now, and he's one of the happiest guys I've ever met. When you find your purpose and you're living in your purpose and you're giving from your purpose, you're getting this energy that is infinite. And it is awesome. And if anybody listening, if one person listening says, that's what I want, boy, go for it. Or girl, go for it. I was using boy in a generic term there.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, Matt, too, because I really want to just key in into this whole purpose thing, because I'm 100% with you. Like, find your purpose, love on it, hold on to it, go with it. So many people lack purpose, or they don't know where to find it, how to discover it. They're just completely lost. And you ask them, like, what do you want to do? And, well, I don't know. I just need to make money, or I just want to be free, or they have all these wants they want, but they don't know how to discover the purpose. How do you answer that?
Well, that's going to take me to I'll ask you how you want to answer this, because that's going to take me to your final question about the secret sauce or the magic. That's the answer. So if you want to go there now in this context, that's fine.
Everyone will have to wait to the very end to find out how they're going to find their purpose. But let's keep going with your picks, and because I love this pyramid that you have, and I think that it's so spot on in what we need to be hearing today, especially as the world is kind of challenging and people are trying to figure out what they want to do in the future, and the lack of happiness and the mental health issues that we're having today. So I really think what you're speaking about is so important. So let's just keep going up your pyramid.
And in fact, the two middle blocks are about discovering purpose. So I'll go into more detail at the end of the show. But love and adventure. So love is recognizing what do you love? Who do you love? What kind of places do you love? What makes you feel good? And when you feel that, take note of it, because there's a message that's unique for you that would be different for me. I might not feel the same thing. We could go on a walk together in the woods, and I might just be so overwhelmed by the beauty of the nature, and I'm saying, I need to hike Mount Everest. I need to do this. That might be what I love and come from it. And you might go out there and you're doing your whole musical thing and composing, a new something or other for your music school, because you were on this adventure. You were out of your normal day-to-day. And when you let go of all the stuff you have to do and you're just relaxed, it could be watching a movie, it could be on vacation, it could be in a shower. You just have that relaxing moment of an aha. That means something. And you got to pay attention to that, because your purpose is going to be found in there. And one of the things I discovered is once you think you've got something, well, I'll go into it at the end, because there's three questions that you can ask that will create three superpowers in your life that lead you onto the life of your dreams. And that's where you'll really find your purpose, in my opinion.
So when people are searching for this love, or they're just wanting to acknowledge it, or trying to find adventure, let's just say they don't have any hobbies. They paycheck to paycheck, they go to work, they go to sleep. The weekends, they're just so emotionally, mentally exhausted and drained that they just even just going for a walk seems too much for them. What would be something that you would encourage people to do to find more love and adventure in their life?
I think an answer is you just got to really be honest with yourself. So if you're living that life 100% have to do, 0% want to do, then you're probably not listening to this show. So if you're listening to this show, you're not there. Right. You have a glimmer. And so you got to build on that glimmer. If you have no hope, I don't know that there's a way to get hope to you. If you have no hope, you're going to be way at the bottom of David's consciousness. And that's really a sad place to be. So, maybe in those situations, a guy that I interviewed had one of his aha moments. He grew up playing soccer. He was a soccer star. His dad was a soccer star. They played college soccer. They had soccer schools. And at some point, he decided he was going to go over to Africa on a mission. And he's been going over there every year for I don't know how many years now, but they built their whole life around this mission trip and teaching hope and teaching hope really to people who have no hope. So I guess if you're at the bottom of the rung, you need to hope for a savior to come in and help lift you and show you can get out of this mess. If you're on your way out of the mess, then you got to be honest with yourself. If you really want to be a piano player, and that really is meaningful to you, then you're going to have to sacrifice for it. And if you sacrifice for it, starting to do the work is going to fuel the next level for you. Right. But you can't get there without doing the work, and you can't get there by being dishonest with yourself, which is, it'd be great to play the piano, but it's past me now, and so you just give up because it's not important enough to you. So the transformational process that will unveil at the end now, it seems like a big magical secret. It's not. It's all about getting the power that you need to walk through the gravity that holds your life in place. The world around us has kind of been rigged to not change you. If you decide you want to change, you're a janitor, and you were a child prodigy on the piano. You know it. None of your friends know it. Right. They don't know. They have no idea about it. And if you say you're going to do that, oh yeah, you can't do that, Matt. Who the hell do you think you are? You're a janitor like us, and they don't want me to leave them. They don't want me to be successful. Our parents, our families, our friends, our culture, they like us just the way we are because it makes them comfortable. Creating the life that you want, you have to get uncomfortable enough to challenge and to be honest with yourself that you want something more. So I think that's the long-winded answer to your question.
Yeah, you have to be. It sounds like you just have to be very brave too, and stand up for yourself and say, "This is what I need. This is what I want. This is how I want to live my life." And when you're talking about that culture and your friends and your family wanting to keep you here, you're very right. I mean, I'm going to speak personally. I reinvent myself every few years. I start my company. I've done this and I've done that, and I've lost a lot of friends along the way because it's like they say, "Oh, we can't keep up with you," or "You're always just talking about these passion projects and you're always doing something new." And it's like, join me, let's go. And they want to fight and they want to stay back in this old little world instead of growing or coming with. Or, I had this other coach say, a lot of people, just tell them that you didn't leave them behind. They just didn't want to go with you.
Yeah, and a flip side to that, but the same answer to your question is the fastest way to improve your happiness is to stop hanging around with people or in places or doing things that make you feel bad. And again, you got to be honest, because if it's your mom, I love my mom, so I can use mom as an example. If it's your mom and every time you go over, she just rips you up and you feel horrible, you can still love her, but you got to get her out of your life. And if you're doing things, you're playing video games and this or that, and you feel guilty about it, you might be having fun, but you're not really having fun. If there's guilt there, it's an escape. And so you have to be honest with yourself and stop doing it. And if you lose friends, who cares? Those friends are not going to help you get to that world-class pianist position. But as soon as you start investing in that, you're going to find people and things that you couldn't have anticipated would help you. Part of the world's trying to hold you down, but there's plenty of it that if they see you want to go somewhere, they're going to help you go there. And that's one of the powers that we're going to talk about. That's the power of the universe.
Yeah, 100%. I have found just as a woman trying to better herself, and I've had to find different circles of people. I've had to start hanging out at different places. I've had to be uncomfortable in rooms that I'm not comfortable in, or become comfortable in them. Like I just joined a CEO forum, and everybody is smarter. They have more wit. They have been doing business way longer than me. Most of them are older and are doing millions and billions of dollars. I've got like a small little company, but I know that that's where I want to go. So I'm hanging out with those people versus the small-minded people that are talking about how they're never going to get to be millionaires or billionaires as well. So I love what you're saying.
I'll give one other advice to that person who has no hope. Start reading. Get books that you're attracted to. Get books about success. Get books about people who have been successful in your area of interest, maybe. But just if you dedicate 30 minutes, an hour of your day, every day into a book that is uplifting and supporting a transition in your life, an improvement in your life, it's going to change your life.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so speaking of books, number one, I have my book just out, the Stroke It Guide. So everyone should get that book. And I was on your website, and you have a book where it says "Inspired by Action," or what's your book title? I can't see it. Turning inspiration into action. Can you tell us a little bit about that book?
Yeah, I actually wrote 2 books. I've written 3, and we've published about 5 or 6 others. But the first book I wrote was called The Belief Roadmap, and that's all about that pyramid, and that's all about creating the life philosophies that you want to live, not that your parents want you to live, not that your teachers or your government no. You figure out what is important to you. And you build that pyramid like I built for me, build one for you. What do you need to build your power? What do you need to find your purpose? And what is the most significant thing that you want to contribute to the world? You build that. And if you build that, then you're going to have now a roadmap for where you want to go. It's going to take you it's going to take you a long time to get there. It may take you a lifetime to get there. You may never get there, but you're going to get closer than if you don't have your roadmap. Just like me driving around in my van. If I don't have my ways, I'm not going to get where I want to go. Then turning inspiration to action is about, okay, that's where I want to go. How am I going to get there? And it was based on this idea in my previous international trade days when we were building software that helped multinational companies operate a little bit better and make a little bit more money. We would keep developing software based on the collective intelligence of the people we were serving and continuing to get more and more optimized in their processes. And people would come to the trade shows and we'd be exhibiting there, and you'd be coming by and say, "Hey, Matt, I've been hearing what your software can do and show me the new things, and I'll show you." And your head will be nodding like it's been today as we've been talking. And you say, "Okay, Jenny, are you going to buy?" "Yep, I'm going to buy when I get home." And suddenly the enthusiasm didn't survive the plane ride home. And when you got back and I called you up and you said, "I haven't been able to get to it, Matt, don't worry, it's coming." But you get overwhelmed when you were away at conference. You were open-minded and free-thinking, and you weren't overwhelmed. When you got back to work, you were crushed by all the stuff you have to do, and you don't have any room for new stuff in your life. That happens to people. It happens in businesses. It happens every new year when you set resolutions. It happens when you're out in the world and you see something and you feel inspired by it and you say, "Oh God, that piano sounded so good." And by the time you get home through traffic, you forget about it as a dream that you can't reach. And so what I noticed as I started writing this book, quite by accident, was 2 things. People make big changes in their life through devastation. It happens sometimes when you see somebody come out of it. You hear there's news stories about it. Most of the time, the devastation crushes people. You never hear about it. But your child gets stolen and you come up with this, nationwide, worldwide new system for finding kids. Or it happens with disease a lot. I've met quite a few people who have specialized in an area of medicine that there was no cure for. Why? Because some of their family members had that. I've got a friend that is topic number 2, Susie Singer Carter. She lost her mom in a nursing home 2 years ago. She was spending a lot of time with her mom, and she noticed inside the nursing home a lot of things that she didn't think were right: corruption, cruelty, a lot of horrible stuff. And you started looking around and to other nursing home situations. She said, this is a tragedy that I cannot stand for. And she spent the last 2 years building a documentary that is taking on this huge multinational industry of what's a lot of things going on is the financial people, investment capital people are buying nursing homes, taking government money and running them for profit instead of for service. And so that's an example of Susie transforming into something she never planned to be through devastation. My book, when I started getting into this, how do you turn inspiration into action? I looked at my own life and said, I haven't needed devastation. I don't know why, but I haven't. And as I started studying, how did I have 8 chapters about me: my football career, my business career, my family man, moving to a lake, becoming an entrepreneur, becoming a book publisher, 9 different things that were really big changes. And none of them came from devastation. They were all moving towards an inspiration. And that's what the book's about.
I love it. Yeah, I was on your website and I was looking at all the books. I watched Susie's video as well too. So super powerful. And we'll drop those links as well so that everybody can understand that a little bit more. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. And right now, from now until the end of June, every single dollar of profit that comes into Happy Living from our book sales in the US and worldwide goes to support the finishing. We've got about $80,000 left that Susie needs to get this documentary out and published into the world. So she's right at the end of it. We came together and I learned about it. And so we're helping her. So if anybody is inclined to buy a book, now's the time to do it. You're going to get a good book that's going to help you improve your life, I hope. And you're also going to be making a donation to a really big cause in her documentary, which is called No Country for Old People.
Yeah, that's awesome. Very cool. Well, thanks for sharing all that, Matt. As we're starting to wrap up as well, is there anything that you would like to say, like the whole pyramid, is that the Kaizen living or is that something completely different?
Well, so Kaizen is a part of it. So if you build your pyramid, what are the things that's important for you to be healthy and strong and powerful? What are the things in life that help you to discover your purpose? And purpose changes over time.
Yeah.
When I was a young family man, my primary purpose was, raising the kids. But now the kids are gone and out of the house. Now the purpose shifts. When I was in international trade, my purpose was different than it is in Happy Living. And in this last chapter I hope it's my last chapter, but it's going to go on for a long time. So you have to be paying attention to that. And the same thing with significance. Things that you love change over time. Places you love change over time. So Kaizening life is coming to all those things that by your own definition, you decided are important. Those 7 are mine, make your own, but continually making what Kaizen means is small incremental improvements add up over time to yield great big results. If you're constantly making improvements in your physical fitness and your mental fitness and your financial fitness and your spiritual fitness, and you're going on adventures and you're not just going to escape, you're going out to find inspiration. You're looking for it. You're looking for something and so you're putting energy into it. Small incremental steps add up over time to yield great big results. As you do that, you are going to find your life getting easier and easier day by day. One of the things I've been saying for years is my life gets better every year. And they say, well, that's going to stop, when you get older. Well, I'm going to be 63 in about a few weeks. And I feel, matter of fact, the book, Turn Inspiration into Action, came from a friend of mine. When I was getting ready to sell our international trade business, he and I and my son went out to dinner up in Portland, Oregon. And we were in our early 50s at the time. And my friend must have said to my son, Kyle, your dad and my glory days are behind us. And he said it over and over and over again. I said, what are you talking about? I am just getting ramped up. And I can tell you, Jenny, at 63, I feel better and stronger and more in tune with my reason for being on this planet than I ever have in my life. And that can go until the end until they put you in the ground. I just did a motivational talk at an assisted living facility where my parents live. And that's kind of hard to do, a motivational talk for 80 and 90-year-old people. But one of the things that we talked about is you can be falling apart physically in your wheelchair. There's a beautiful woman there. She has a problem with her throat. She has to talk with a microphone here, and she's in a wheelchair, but her spirit is fierce. And, your spirit can get stronger until the day you die. And then maybe afterwards it continues on. Let's hope. So that's what Kaizening life is all about. And the economies of scale part is that the more you do, the easier it gets. The more you do all of it, the more you flip your ratio from 1 to 2 to 10 to 20, 80, it gets easier and easier. And that's what the book Turning Inspiration to Action is about. When you focus on these things, you discover powers that join you to help elevate your life. And it gets easier and easier. So a friend of mine who started running marathons in late 50s, I was just talking to him. He says, the first mile is the hardest. The first 3 are awful, but by the time you get to 7 or 8 miles, you start feeling this runner's high. And it's true in life too. So It's not easy. You got to go through the first mile, but it's worth it.
You got to get started. You got to get started somewhere. So finding hope and finding faith and, going all in. That's awesome too. Well, Matt, you're absolutely amazing. I would have never guessed that you were 63. I was thinking like early 50s maybe. So keep rocking. That's awesome. And thank you so much for sharing all of your knowledge and your tools today. If you could leave us with one final thought, if there was anything that our listeners could implement in their life today or tomorrow that would change their mindset, make them happier, what would be one thing? It could be big, it could be small, that they could get started doing.
Okay, so it's this, that there are forces of human nature that conspire to hold your life in place. In my book, Turning Inspiration to Action, I call these forces the forces of gravity. And they're different for everybody. You have to figure out what yours are. Mine is worry, but it could be procrastination. It could be cultural expectations. It could be, whatever. Whatever, when you say, I want to do A, and it feels right, and then tomorrow or the next day you start saying, I want to do it, but I can't because. And so your mind, your subconscious talks you out of it. So in my book, Turn Inspiration to Action, I created a transformational process that's based on 3 questions that invoke 3 powers that make you more powerful than the gravity holding your life in place. And it seems like you just defy gravity as you work towards the life of your dreams. And the 3 questions are, what inspires you? Why is it important to you? And how will you bring it into your life? And the 3 powers are the power of priority, the power of the heart, the mama bear power. I'll walk through fire because my baby's hurt. I'll lift a car up. Where'd the strength come from? I don't know, but we have it. It's inside us. So the power of the heart. And then the last one is the power of the universe. That's serendipity. Once you decide to start moving, the universe brings to you all sorts of things and meetings and people that you never, ever would have ever thought would come into your life, except for the fact that you started on this path. So 3 questions inspire 3 powers that will take you to the life of your dreams. And if you want to get there, I would say buy the Belief Roadmap and buy Turning Inspiration to Action and read them and do the exercises in them. And we're going to donate to charity and help Susie with her movie. And if anybody does those things and they want my help or have questions, they can reach me at matt@happyliving.com. And I'd be happy to help anybody.
You're amazing. I want to jump in your van and just go road tripping with you and you're amazing. Thank you so much for all of your insight. For everyone that was listening today, definitely give Matt a 5-star review. I would say, better yet, think of 5 people you can forward this podcast to. I definitely am inspired. I'm inspired to share this with my team members and a lot of my friends as well. I think just having this really positive mental state and mindset can be so powerful. I love about the universe. I was trying to hire people for 3 months and I couldn't find good people. And I kept saying, I can't find good people, or they're underqualified, or they want too much money. And one of my coaches was like, let's say this, the good people are out there. I'm going to find these good people. They're going to want to work for my company. And I've literally hired 5 people in the past 2 weeks, and they are really good people. So I love that, the universe and just that power of positivity too, and kind of leaning in and all those great things. So anyway, Matt, thank you so much. Thank you for all of our listeners for tuning in. Once again, thank you for your review. Thank you for sharing this with your friends. And we wish you a beautiful day.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Stroke It podcast today. If you want to stroke me, please consider giving me a 5-star review, sharing this podcast with 5 of your favorite friends or someone you may think could benefit from the podcast, and consider joining my collective. It's completely free for the first 30 days, and you can go to jennysfreegift.com.